How did we get from drugs to video game?
It's all about artwork. It's all about the drugs. It's all about like what I've been through, where I was at in my life. Like when I was in school and you're failing everything, you can't read, you can't do it. Like when the drugs are put in front of you because of what had happened to my family, I got into Satanism. I made a deal with the devil. He helped me kill the guy.
Have you ever played a game created from drugs to Satanism? No? Interesting. Creator of the in-development game Testimony of Shew, a unique narrative-driven story with a symbolistic connection to its creator. Let us partake. I want to take time today to, first of all, honor you for what you're doing, bring to light what you're working on, and kind of get an idea of where you started, where you're going, and where the future is in your projection, what you have in mind for it. So, first of all, we'd just love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Jason Schewchuk. I was born in Canada and moved all around the world. And I'm an artist by trade and got into the game making within the last 5 or so years now. And it, I just, I honestly don't think that there's a higher form of artwork and putting, being able to mesh things together from music to drawing to everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's the core for me.
Yeah. And you saying that is really interesting because I think if you're saying that you've been like an artist since like you were a kid, I'm imagining that maybe it kind of felt like what we did as kids, but now you're actually creating it. Like, we
Yeah.
made believe as kids, we played with our toys as kids, but here you are actually creating a physical world written
Mhm.
with your own story, your own role play. What was that like? Like, what was that experience to take everything that you kind of had just in your thought process and kind of push yourself to make it happen? Like,
Yeah, man, it's pretty surreal. I mean, to because like when you're a kid, you're drawing these pictures, you're living in these worlds in your own head, but to
mhm,
see that actually come into existence and you can actually put soundtrack to it, you can put movement, you can put action to it, you know what I mean? It's not just something that, yeah, it was a faint thought, and you can just solidify it. I mean, the world's at your fingertips now, opening these doors to your mind. Yeah, it's definitely surreal and pretty mind-blowing.
did you in processing that, did you have a moment where you had a different venture that was kind of put in front of you? Like, because obviously this is what you're doing in your adulthood. Like, was there something along that journey that perhaps, I don't know, I'm not sure what kind of parents you have. Um, you did mention that your mother plays piano and actually has a heavy part in building some of that soundtrack for you, which is incredible. Um, and I would love to express that or get more detail on that as well. But was there anything that kind of pushed you off where you had to find that later in life? Or was this pretty early on that you, maybe not games, but you were like, no, I know I want to be in this creative space?
Yeah, well, I mean that was my identity from the very beginning, was doing the art and whatnot, and I didn't know where it was going to take me.
Mm,
Honestly, I was so bad at school. I dropped out of school. I got in the drug world, and
mm,
my only sense of identity was art, and so that's all I knew.
got it.
And so then coming uh what like later on in life, I was trying to find a career or whatever, thinking of career, and like concept artist was always, I always wanted to be a concept artist for video games, but I was just, it was so competitive. I was just like, no, I'd never make it, and like the amount of money it'd take to go to school. But then like later on, when I started, like I saw, I think it was the trailer for Unreal Engine, the like Unreal Engine 5
Mm,
came out, and I'm just like, wow, like this is like, and I started seeing that like now, like right now is like a time as an artist, you can actually, you don't have to like, with what is that called? You don't have to like learn to write code
right,
like you used to.
right.
And so like, like it's accessible now, and like it can be a one-man band instead of having a whole, team.
Team.
When I saw that, I'm just like, wow, like it's possible when that wasn't possible back in the day.
Right. And I think that that's incredible because before I even dish off to what you just said, because that is a remarkable thing, and I want to come back to that. So let's check that in there. I think there's a remarkable thing that we are in a time where we can take advantage of controlling our art. And I don't think you don't seem like a person that's only going to limit it just so you can do it all yourself. I think it was just you taking that footstool and saying, I got to make this happen. This is what I'm envisioning. And maybe, sometimes when we build something, it intrigues other people because one, they see your passion, but then they also see, oh, this guy, he's talking. He's not just saying or as we would say, he's walking and talking. Not just talking. But I wanted to revert back before we continue to that because you threw a little monkey wrench in there, and now I'm starting to think, all right, so how did we get from drugs to video games? Like you said, you just threw it in. I was in the drug world, so now I'm like, whoa, okay, what was going on there?
Oh yeah, like so actually that was what the name of the game, it's about actually my story. And so it's actually going like it's all about artwork, it's all about the drugs, it's all about like what I've been through, where I was at in my life. And honestly, like I feel like the most passionate thing you can do is write something about what you know. And like when it's your story, when it's what you've been through, the hardships, the difficulties and all that, that's where you can really let loose. And because that's like in an artist's mind, you're showing them who you really are.
Right,
You get vulnerable. I mean, you get really vulnerable and you're letting people, I don't know, criticize if they want to,
right.
like who you are. And so like that drug world had a huge impact on my life. It like I was searching for meaning, purpose, all this stuff in that world. And so because honestly, when you like when I was in school and you're failing everything, you can't read, you can't do it, like, and automatically, honestly, when the drugs are put in front of you, you know what I mean, and you're all up in your mind already, and someone's like, hey, look, you can see stuff, you can like go on experiences in your
Uh,
own head, and you're just like, and you compare that with the game world and the like. I'm not sitting there condoning all the drugs.
yeah, I
I
understand.
don't
I
do drugs
understand.
anymore or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But that world that I was in, it was just like, whoa, are you serious? I'm gonna like, and I jumped down that, especially from all the depression and stuff I came from the background.
Mm.
But that actually like that just blended right into the video games and the art. And I mean, I think there's a huge society that already like is into that kind of thing. But yeah, it was definitely a huge part in in my growing up, because when other people were studying for tests, I was hitting stuff hard.
All the way back then. And
Uh,
the thing that interests me a lot is the thought that if you're doing like drugs or you're doing things that are negating you from your studies, a lot of times, and I could be wrong, but a lot of times, I'm not saying it's 100%, but I feel like that's typical of people that are in the creative space because and it's not to say um that you have to be one way and that's okay, but I do think that there's been a tendency throughout time that certain people can either blend in well even though they're not exactly the same as every bee, right, as you would say,
mhm.
a bee, a busy bee, right. Others that really are structurally, they follow to the T what they're told, right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then I think that there's those creatives that are in the place that say, I have no clue how to fit in. Like, I am a wolf when I try to put on this sheep's clothing. Like, there's
Mhm.
nothing I can do. I cannot look like a sheep. I cannot walk like a sheep. And I think it's the initial struggle is that you don't fit in and it's obvious. You want to fit in to feel that inclusion, but everyone makes you feel like you don't fit in. And
Right.
once you get to that point, it becomes resentment. And I think that even in your own story, that there's a sense of trying to find yourself, which has already been there. It wasn't that you didn't, obviously, we all come that journey, but it's not that this is only perception, but I'm saying based on what you're saying, it's like I feel like creatives aren't exactly trying to find themselves until later, because it's like you actually know yourself, but when we walk into the world where this is who you have to be, so it's like you're losing yourself. So it's almost like trying to get back to, you're like, why don't I think this way, because you're not meant to. Christopher Judge said it best in the critically acclaimed 2018 Game of the Year award, God of War. Boy, just like the God of War, Jason, our guest, and myself are both what you would call follically challenged. And that falls very well into today's product showcasing of one Sans Boutte Men. A shaver covering you from ear to ear with a literal click of a button. Its sleek design and powerful motors make it quite effective, and the battery life is a plus. So just as easy as it slides and glides over your head, it's just as easy as we will flow right back into this video. How did you bleed, or you feel that you bled, your feelings and your experiences into your game?
Yeah, so the name of the game is Testimony of Shew, and it's a play on my last name. And so it's all about meaning. It's all about so like the whole game is set in a symbolic world. So you're playing me as a character, and it's on my well, basically in my past, in my actual past, not symbolically, but I got into like some bad stuff happened to my family. I lost it, and I because of what had happened to my family, I got into Satanism, and I pledged to the devil to help me kill. And I know this is some serious stuff,
No,
but
I
I mean this is
understand.
the
Yeah.
so like I made a deal with the devil. He helped me kill the guy uh by the time I turned 18, when I could get a gun and whatever,
Mhm.
um that he could take my life. And so then from that, like, it was just me going through life and, waiting until I turned 18. And, before I knew it, I was hopping on the drug train. I was doing, and before I knew, I was losing everything. So like it was, it started falling into this place of me searching for meaning now. I was losing all sense of like, because like honestly life stops making sense after when you don't care about life
Yeah.
anymore, and it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about nothing. You're filled with rage and anger, you know what I mean? Then you're searching for something to band-aid for a moment, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just give me a high, give me something, I want to lose reality kind of like mindset. And so that's what the game is like kind of reflecting. It's showing it all in symbolism as you're going searching uh, for purpose, for meaning, as in this dark and like wild world. And so it was really fun to work on, because I had previously done this in I don't know what, like an animation, because
Right.
I had done this back, I don't know how many years ago, probably 8 years ago or so. And the more I looked at it, the more I'm like, man, I got to make this into a game.
Yeah.
And so like and I just saw the characters just coming alive, and just like the world and everything. And I'm just like, man, this is like, I've never seen a game based on like a testimony symbolically. So I'm just like, this would, because like for me, like just to make another Mario, just to make another Halo, just to make another, try and it doesn't really thrill me.
Right.
But I like depth, I like narrative. And when you put that all together with an experience, because you can watch a movie, but when you get to play it,
Right.
that's a whole nother level, and so that's what thrilled me about making it into a game. And I loved, because you have to do like symbolic math, like how does this, like how did that relate, and would that look like, and how do you, because you're not just like drawing up real characters, you actually have to figure out how would this work, and how to create game loops now, you know what I mean, doing all these like gameplay mechanics and whatnot, but symbolically.
Okay. And what it sounds like is, first of all, that's deep thinking for you, Mister. I didn't finish school. It sounds like you had a lot of intelligence you were hiding in there. But to be able to do all of this is levels and leagues of intelligence that is just incredible. I wanted to zoom back to where you didn't say the word, but it came to my mind about your journey, about what you delved into, about your experience with I don't know if that's like selling your soul in a sense or making a pledge, but everything that you said, it makes me feel that it encapsulates like perhaps escapism, you know? So do you feel like this game, because of course I'm not trying to take any, right? Because we gotta play it. But do you feel like what do you feel like this game would do for its player? Like, where do you feel like it takes them on this journey? If you were to give that simple breakdown without obviously telling the game's, entire layout, how am I feeling stepping into this? And how am I possibly walking away from this experience?
Yeah, so the cool thing about it is that there's so much like I tried to pack so much depth into the game. So
Mm.
even if you like played it through, you might want to play it a few times to just like really take it in. And honestly, there's a reward system once you beat the game that like you unlock the comic, and there's a like a three like what do you call that? 3 seasons or 3 episodes
Okay.
of a comic, and it's
Okay.
like my story, so you can go and read. So, like, you get, like, the symbol you play
Huh.
through the symbolism, but you
Right.
might not get it all, and so then you can go back and unlock the comic and then read through the comic, and then you get, like then it deepens.
Uh,
So, it's like layers that you're, like, going through. But,
okay.
yeah, I mean, the person you're basically stepping into an addict's world. You're stepping
Mm,
into my world, and to see what I felt. And that's why like that was a big point that I wanted to make, because I felt like I used to like I would work on the game even before like I talked to my mom about doing the piano pieces and stuff like that. Was there was like and I always talk to people about this, like I can feel music. There you can play certain songs to me and it won't make a difference. Like I but there's certain like tones, there's certain notes, there's certain way you play it that it like speaks to me, and I'm just like,
mm,
whoa, and my mom, as she would play, I mean, she's a much happier person like than I've ever been, kind of thing. But then she would play some minor keys and she would get into something, and I'm just like, and I could feel it, and I felt like it was a part of her that was in me or whatever. Like
yes.
that when I heard that, I'm just like, I think this would be awesome because I feel like you are hitting a point, something that's like I can feel in me or whatever. So that's why I wanted like even to have that, because I can't write like she can,
Right.
but she can put that point that in there that could speak to someone about how what's in my mind, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
100% makes sense. And I think that it has a very unique turn on how one can express themselves. And what you said to me, we didn't get a chance to speak about this yet, but like I said, we would come back to this. Um, you mentioned previously before we started that this experience alone has had an impact on you and your mother's relationship. And I think that this is very unique how you're expressing this connection. And I think that as a parent, it must be an incredible feeling for her to not only see, she's probably known your journey, to see where you were, how you were struggling, that turnaround that has come from that, and to see that in a part of that turnaround, not only are you seeking her in this journey, which is super awesome, but I think that it must feel also incredible to say, "Hey, mom, I feel something while doing these projects that makes me feel like I've got something of you." And I think that that sounds super super unique. But just to let you kind of capitalize that on that a little bit, like what what is a creator, right? As someone that has created this game, what have you learned about yourself in the matter of making this? And also, what do you feel like you've learned? Because you mentioned your mom. What do you feel like you've learned from your mother in this sense of this journey and family, when it comes to creating this game?
Yeah, like especially with me and my mom, like I've always been like, I've been close with my mom, and she's always had a creative side to her. But like I feel like she never delved, especially because of the background she comes from.
Mm,
Her mom was very much about like, oh, you're going to go to school for this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to get this degree, and you're going to do. So she basically had all her life planned out for her. So she never
mm,
got to like I did. like explore and find out who she really is, like her identity. And so like it wasn't until honestly we started doing this that I started to see like, and honestly I want this experience for her as we're doing this together to encourage her to step out, because I feel like she's been suppressed, by society, by, like, how things work. Oh, this, it has to be a career, and you got like that doesn't make money, so don't do it, kind of thing. And it's just like, but for me, like I always thought I was going to die, so I'm just go all in. It's like, but for her, and I think, and that's what I'm hoping, that this would encourage her in her creativity and to step out, because like, and to see her worth in this, because I see it. I don't think she truly gets it, and that's why I told her straight up. It's like, I don't think you understand your skill, and I don't want you to bury that, and so I hope that, us working together, not just the bonding of that, but like that she sees, man, this is worth like that, like I can use this, and honestly, like as working together in these things, it's just amazing. I honestly feel like she gets, like there, there's a little bit of like, like with anyone, if you start working with them at the very beginning, they don't always like see perfectly
Right.
together, but
Right.
as you work, you begin to see more and more eye to eye, and it starts aligning. But I feel like she already understands like the certain keys I'm looking for, the
Right.
certain tones I'm looking for, and it's amazing to see that, because I've never seen that before. When we just talk about life, you don't have that connection, but when you
Right.
talk about art, and you both have that same, especially when you're related, like even with me and my dad, like I would do construction with him, and he would, like, before he would say like a certain tool, I'd be over there and grab it for him, because like I already knew him.
Yeah.
I would watch. So like, how much more when it came to like creativity between you and someone that you're like you're related to, so I don't know, that was a really wild,
Yeah.
uh it still is a really wild thing, and like to see that excite her, it's been awesome, it's been a privilege.
One thing I wanted to take both of those things you said, and there's a word I don't want to misplace, so I'm going to say this first before saying that, and the word is fear. I want to get more into that story of your design and play, but I'm saying that that right there is what separates you from so many people, is you were able to step over the fear, because most people don't understand fear is so just uh immobilizing, like it stops everything. And the fear of failure, the fear of not following through, the fear of not being enough, there's so much. So in saying that, I'm kind of curious to, we obviously see that you can overstep fear, and that's incredible. But what were some of your concerns as we get into now the building of the game? What were some of your major concerns of getting into game designing, game animating, storytelling? Like you took the whole thing. So I can't even say one measure. What was it? What was like that concern that, man, how do I get this? How do I get involved in this?
Oh man, you know the biggest thing that I've learned, and this is going to get real deep or so.
Yep.
um when I was like a Satanist and stuff, I learned something about power, right?
Mm,
And I would draw, right? And I would put on like, like Norwegian black metal, and
mm,
I would fill the room, like I could feel the room like fill up with the dark power, and I could feel that, like I could feel the demons enter, and I would feel this power come over me, and I would draw like crazy, and I would
mm,
just like, and I so I knew where power came from, right? So I knew how it all played out.
mm.
Like, I mean, and this was so wild that my dad would wake us up in the morning and like he would look like haggard, and he would be like, I would be like, what's wrong or whatever, and he's like, man, something was in this house around this time, and he said this specific time, and he goes, and it was here all the whole time, and my dad's a praying man, and he's like, and he goes, I I've been up all morning since that time praying all, and I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. I brought the demons. Like it was me in
You
like
got
in
it in
doing
front.
those like things.
So was this like a, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. Was this like a channeling kind of thing that you were experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, like, because like, I open myself up, I open the veils, and like once I started like, especially playing that, because that's basically hymns to the devil. And I mean, like, and you just start opening the doors, and they just start, coming in, and because you're giving legal right to
Mm,
take hold of you. And so, I learned at an earlier age or whatever about power, and so like that was something that had always hit me. And when I exited like when I exited out of Satanism, I knew that there was power. I knew that these things were. And so like and that was my thing. My God pulled me out of these things and saved me out of all that stuff. So the thing is now, like I see the same thing, no different. I mean, like where I get my power from,
mm,
right? I no longer get it from that side. And like now, like when I make games, I have to like I can't do it. Like I know it flat out. Like there's no way I could do any of the things I'm doing. But but I go to my God. And like in it, like I just think and he gives me the power. And he stepped me into it slowly by slowly. But like and what was crazy about it is I started off with small game and like I would go to my God. I said, like, I need help. I can't do this. And then he would give me the power. And I mean, like, I'm not that's where the fear was, right? Where
right.
I see how little I am and how big this is, right? Because all I know, I'm coming from just like bare bones, like artist background. Like I never even really touched ZBrush before. And then
Okay.
it's just like, and I mean, this is all like you gotta like hands on everything. And I wanted to do it in like my art style. So like not like, buy an asset, buy like no,
Right.
all in-house. Like I mean maybe it's like 98% like all hand done. I used a couple assets from somewhere else or whatever. But like when you see, like you said, the fear is like you're standing there and you're looking into the abyss, right? You're looking into like how big this is and how like you're helpless in this, especially because you don't come from a professional gaming background.
Mm,
You're like, "Man, I need help." And that was the thing is as I continued to step, it was just like one step at a time. It was just like and as I just continued to pursue and ask for the help, it was given to me and I kept going. And it was like I didn't it wasn't the same as it was like entering demons entering into you and you could feel. It
right.
was more of like a stepping out and you can't feel, but you just believe and you just keep going. So that was like I mean, that was some pretty wild, like, process
Yeah, man.
of especially, like, where I live, like, off grid. I have to use a generator to even run my computer. So, like, I mean, it's hardcore.
Dang, man,
Like,
you was under the pressure for making a game. Good
oh,
lord.
dude, like well, no,
Good
that
lord.
and that was what was so wild about is because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know how
Mm,
it's all gonna go down. And, you know you got your family, you got everything. So you got stuff at stake. But yeah, there's a ton of fear in it. But the thing is, one thing I realized about life is you got to give your all. There's no point in living if you're not going to step in the whole way. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned when I mean, I was on death's doorstop like my whole teen, even up
mm,
into the adulthood, where I thought I was going to die. You know what I mean? Just constantly thinking like, oh, this could be my last pill. This could be my last whatever. And you just
mm,
like, yeah. And you said, like you brought it up, I look back on how many of my friends, either killed themselves, OD'd, and just like looking down this list. And that's one of the things I look toward is because like in doing my testimony, it's gnarly, it's raw, it's real, but like honestly, there's a reason behind it more than just the love of doing art, the more than just the love of doing gaming was I want to help someone else.
mm.
I want to use my testimony to give someone else hope because no one was telling me there was hope. I was just in utter darkness. But if I can give someone else hope, then there's a reason. And I want meaning. I want full on meaning. I don't want to I don't want to just live a vain life purposeless. So I mean there's purpose behind hopefully everything I do. That's what I'm seeking for.
the coolest part about your story is that we don't know what to expect in that game, but this entire conversation is, like you said, it's a testimony. So I think it's so ironic how much inner line that's going to be for the gaming experience. And I think that it's so incredible to be able to, not only in a sit down, to be able to express those types of vulnerabilities, because that really is, that's really in a very personal experience that I think definitely anybody, man, that would be really really heavy on anybody's mind. And there must have been things that drew you to, even like you said, these dark energies and these types of experiences. And one thing I want to kind of segue slightly to, uh in dealing with the game development, is when you were going through this process of gaming, how did you kind of start? Like, I'm very curious in the sense because, for example, let's say someone's watching this and they're saying, "Hey, man, like, like, where do I even start? Like, I wanna get into gaming, right?" And maybe they feel that intimidation factor of like, "Yo, it's really hard to, find or go to school or whatever." Do you feel that there's a limitation today? Because you did mention such benefits about the time that we live in. But do you feel like there's limitations to people that want to learn how to be a game designer, a director of gaming, a script writer? Like, do you feel that there's limitations that you do need schooling? Because I'm not sure. I would love you to kind of share that.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest limitations is time, and
Mm,
another one is drive. You know,
mm,
if you don't have the drive, you don't have, and you don't got time, then you don't got anything. You know, um, but if you've got the drive and you've got, because the thing is, you got to love it. That's the bottom line. You got to love what it is. And I think one of the heaviest things that someone told me, or like, thinking on it, was like, would you do this for free? If you
exactly.
love this, would you do it for
Exactly.
free? And that's how you'll know, because it's like, well, is it, and so, because the thing is, if you don't love it, you're not going to give the time to learn it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you got to learn to play. You got to learn to just enjoy the process. Because if you don't, and I heard a bunch of game devs say this, and I stand behind that as well. If you don't love the process, you don't love doing the creating of it, then no one's going to love your product. If you don't
Mm,
love it, because it's just going to, because that's the thing. Everybody that created a good product was standing behind that product. You know
right.
what I mean? And they
Right.
basically gave all to get that product out. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it, is the passion behind what someone's making, And so I think that's the difficulty that you're going to come against. And honestly, today's day, everything's at our fingertips. I mean,
Right.
and like YouTube, like, is huge.
Solely
The game.
YouTube.
Oh yeah. And then, like, and so that's, I mean, that honestly, that's where I was found. Like, I mean, it can get hard. The hardest part is learning to ask the right questions. That's like
Mhm.
the most difficult. And then just learning to play. Learn, because if you're just in there, you're just wanting to just get it done, you're gonna have a hard time. Learn to play with it and learn to make mistakes. Because if you're just trying to start and then just create like the project of your dreams right off the bat, forget it. Like, just make little projects and keep
Mm.
working on those little things and hone it. Just keep honing different areas of it. And because otherwise you're going to burn out, and burn out bad, and then you're going to hate it and want nothing to do with it. I don't know. I hope that answer your question.
And what do you feel like throughout that process? What was the longest part? Like, I know animating must have been insane, especially if this was like a first time pickup for you. Um, but I also imagine that perhaps the script was quite tough. Finding that script that really worked for you. What was that? And excuse me, because I don't even know of how much dialogue. I don't even know if it's a, what kind of game are we playing? So excuse me, that's like a two-parter. One, what type of game is this? Like, what would it be categorized if there is a genre that is fit to, share? And then also, what was that tough part? Like, what was the most difficult part? I guess I would say.
Yeah. So it's a third person single player platformer,
Okay.
but narrative driven. And so that's the kind of game it is. But the hard part, the hardest part of the game, well, it was kind of it was a wild because what happened was when I was deciding to do this
Mm,
was I had met I had met a buddy in Argentina, and this guy had just put out a comic book, and he shared it with me. He's like, "Hey, I want you to check this out." And I'm sitting there, I'm reading through this guy's comic book, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, "Man, this is awesome." Like, I'm like, and it just kept hitting me, "You need to make a comic book. You need to make a comic book." And so like I actually start and I asked this guy to help me. Like my style is a lot more like probably a hybrid of comic slash like graphic novel,
okay.
um, but very imagery heavy. But so as I was thinking about making a game, I started working on this comic book, and then they started playing off each other. They just started like, and so like as I was writing one, it was helping me understand the other. And so it was just like going back and forth on this, and it would play itself out. And so it helped me, with the script of it, like of the game. And then I saw that they actually were going to become one
One
unit.
thing. Okay.
Um, so the comic took quite some time, or like the artwork and all of that. That was pretty tough for me because like I was in the movie like creating like short films and stuff like that. So my mind was more in that, not laying it out on paper and putting, and like kind of doing that whole thing. But I think that was probably the longest and the hardest part. Um, yeah, and I have a very strange style of how I create,
Mm,
like compared to like because I didn't go to like game school or anything like that, the game design stuff. So like I would build the same level over and over and over and in different ways. And I would just like and so like it was a very long process, but it was very rewarding in the end because you just felt like once I got it, like and I made the game like 5 or 6 times, and I would just
dang.
make it and then redo it, and then redo it, and then redo
Ooh.
it, and,
Like you
like
said, love what you do, cause
oh, yeah.
good God.
Well, what was so wild about that is that you get to a place where you're like, "Man, I could make this so much better." And, like,
Yeah.
always keeping that in my mind of I could make and so you're never settling until you feel so satisfied with what you have, and you're like, you're locked into it. And I
Right.
feel like that is so much more you're content with what you got then. And then you can move on from there. So I think that was a really hard time where you just keep starting and then quitting, and not quitting, but, like, restarting and just, like, this so it's my mad creative madness, I guess.
I wanted to just say thank you so much, really. Thank you so much for being my first guest, for taking out your time in your day. I know we're in different time zones, but taking out your time in your day to sit down with me and to express this game. I think the coolest thing about this is that it surpasses the game that you've made, and it's made it a lot more of exactly what I think you're hoping to push in this game, an experience. Because speaking with you has definitely been a really big eye opener to the concept of what goes behind it. Because I told you, this whole journey for me is learning. Like I've been working, literally working with these games and doing these things, but always being like, I don't think I really know that much. And I can right now, I can tell didn't know half of what you just. Well, I mean, I understood, but I didn't know right how much goes into it. And you've only touched the surface, so I already know there's so much more to go into the game design, the drawing, the time, the hours. So yeah, man, just thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on Unsung Heroes and aspiring, inspiring, and also kind of guiding us. And Now, I want to get all your information so that once the game is released, I can go ahead and push it to everybody to go play and experience.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
This is Broadway, where people go to try and fill the hole in their heart.
Hey, are you the Mr. Gunjamon? I heard you can help me lose reality.
Say no more.
You failed. I'm looking to numb my pain. Can you help me find the point of life?
Welcome back to school.
Based on a true story told in symbolism.